Good Friday morning. It is the 10th day of November, 2011. No, 2017. I
You're
did
way
that
behind.
again. Last week,
It was 1917.
It was 1917, and I posted on Facebook all the things that went wrong that day for me. And I said, oh, yeah, I forgot to mention I typed in 1917. Luckily, Derek did not give me too hard of a time about it. This is WKRK Radio in Murphy, North Carolina. I think last Friday I just didn't get enough sleep.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and old people like me need our sleep.
I definitely need my sleep.
Well, welcome back, Sheriff Palmer. You've had a busy week, I understand.
We have. We've had a good week this week, and it's just been, like I say, very busy. It's that time of year we do our audits and different things from the state comes in and does a personnel file audits and all that. So we had all that kind of going on this week, but we've had a lot of arrests this week. We've done a lot of different things this week to try to bring some justice to people. And one of the things I want to mention real quick is out in the West End, Hiwassee Down, Ranger communities, in the last several days, we've had a rash of breaking and enterings out in that area. So we want to encourage anybody out in that area listening to please give us any information that you have, any suspicious vehicles, anything like that. If you saw our Facebook post yesterday evening, I believe it was, there's a few folks that we're looking for breaking and entering some of those homes out there. Actually, one of our deputies on patrol actually caught people breaking into a house. Had a truck loaded down with some things on the back of it. The deputy tried to pull them over, tried to stop them as they were leaving the house, and they fled on foot, ran into the woods. And so we've got warrants on those folks, trying to pick them up. We did recover the stolen property from the house that they had broken into, but there were some others in the area that had been happening that recently. So we have reason to believe that they've committed other crimes in that area. So I'm sure they're not the only ones. So if you see anything down there, check out our Facebook page. Look for those folks that we wanted. One of the persons on that page, I think Jeremy Golden, that was on that page that we're looking for. I think Polk County actually got in a chase yesterday with him and trying to get him stopped on our warrants, and they lost him over there, and so he's still on the loose. We're still looking for him. So we are working down there. We are making progress on that, trying to get some of these breaking and enterings resolved, but we would greatly appreciate any community help that we could get on that.
Are the properties being broken into, are they mainly full-time or seasonal residents? Can you tell?
Most of what we're seeing is seasonal type things. When you get into August, September, or even early October, sometimes people leave and go back to, if they've got Florida homes or homes somewhere in the South, sometimes they leave here and go back to their winter homes and leave the homes here vacant. And so our criminals know that, and they know that when people leave, they go to start breaking into things. So that's why we try to step up patrols and be more vigilant in these areas when the winter time comes. And like I say, we did have a deputy that actually caught them in the process of doing that with one home. And so we were able to get those things recovered, but we can't be everywhere at the same time. And so our average, like I said last month, I think I ran the numbers last month, we averaged 3,100 calls last month for service. Those are calls that citizens have called in needing help. And so when our deputies are responding to 3,100 calls, it's kind of hard to be proactive sometimes and trying to stop some of these things before they happen. But from time to time, we do get lucky and stop some of these things from happening.
All right. And let's see, last night you had quite a few arrests, I understand, drug-related arrests.
Right. Yeah, we were trying to concentrate our efforts in the Marble area on drug activity and different things that are going on in that area. We're constantly up there. I think they're in the Marble area, one particular road. I think I checked the other day, and we've had 169 calls for service on this one particular road. Wow. And that includes security checks, extra patrols, just being in the area. But those are all things that were recorded for being in that area. Yesterday, we did several traffic stops, arrested several people off traffic stops yesterday, wrote tickets off traffic stops, things of that nature in the Marble area. And then last night we did a search warrant at Minor Road there off Vengeance Creek, and we seized almost 50 grams of methamphetamine and arrested 7 people from that residence. So our guys are out working. They're
50
doing
50 grams.
That's mid-level trafficking. Yeah,
Mid-level trafficking.
Yeah, and so there was like I say, I think there were about 10 people at the residence when we went in, but they wound up arresting 7 people out of there. I think 2 of which were charged with trafficking methamphetamine, and the other ones were charged with possession of methamphetamine. So, along with other charges, other felony charges with that. But we're trying to do what we can to help the people in that area and the drug activity that's going on. We know that it's very frustrating when you have neighbors, you see traffic coming in and out all the time, and you know what's going on, and we know what's going on. But they've got to be lucky every time. All we got to do is be lucky once. So,
the question I have right now is about the repeat visitors to the jail. Visitors, I say. Is there a tracking mechanism in place when someone gets arrested, saying this person has been here so many times this year?
Yeah.
And does that get passed on to the court system so they can?
Well, the magistrates, when someone is presented to a magistrate, by law, the law says that when you make an arrest, you have to take that person immediately and without delay in front of a judicial official. That could be a magistrate, that could be a judge that's on a bench or a court in session, but more often than not, it's taken in front of a magistrate. On the magistrate system, when they process the charges that you brought them in for, it shows on their system if there's anything pending or if there's anything pending in court. It may not show. I'm not familiar with that system. I don't know exactly what the magistrate sees. I don't know if it actually shows arrest dates and how often that is, but it will show anything pending and show that they do have cases in court pending.
And I know it has to be frustrating because you guys are out there doing a really fantastic job and see the same people over and over again.
Right.
And you know in your heart that certain things probably should happen and that person needs to learn from whatever mistakes they made.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, and this is what I keep trying to remind people, like I say, we get frustrated, and law enforcement gets frustrated, the community gets frustrated, and I would say even sometimes the court system gets frustrated with the situation, with the people coming in and out. But we also have to understand is that, we have to do things by order and by law.
Right.
And so we can't just, because we're frustrated with someone, we can't just bypass the law and say Tim deserves a harsher sentence or deserves harsher things because I don't like Tim, Same thing kind of with making an arrest and bringing people through the process. Even though we may know who's dealing drugs and we're trying to work on that and try to get those folks in jail, we can't necessarily make a personal vendetta out of it. We can't just go after a person because we don't like that person and we want to do everything we can to get that person in jail. Now, if that person's committing crimes, of course we can follow whatever crimes they're committing and arrest them as such. But we need to understand that we are here to uphold the law. We are not here to carry out personal vendettas or vengeance against people. And sometimes what happens is that when neighbors get frustrated and they get frustrated with the things going through their neighbor's house, they just want it to stop. They just want some peace. And sometimes they get to the point where they don't care whether you bend the law or whether you don't or whether you even break it. They want this to stop. But as law enforcement, it's our responsibility not to bend the law or not to break it, but to follow the law to the best of our ability and handle things the best way we can.
Yeah, just getting to that point where hopefully the crime from that person will stop.
Right.
There's a lot of good people out there that do break the law, and it affects a lot of people. And I don't think a lot of people realize how many people that it actually can trickle down to, even in their own family members.
And the strange thing, I guess, is that I see with the drug activity that you didn't see in years past, but now it's becoming worse and worse, is there's people that we went to school with, that we grew up with, that was never in trouble, never committed crimes, never broke the law, never did anything, but now they're in 40-somethings, and now all of a sudden in their phase of their life they want to start using and selling drugs, and that makes no sense to me. I don't understand that. But we have people that, for 30, 40 years of their life was law-abiding, didn't get into that kind of activity or anything, but now in later middle age in life and later, they're starting to get into this lifestyle, and I just don't. That doesn't make sense to me.
What do you think attracts them that first time to enter that kind of lifestyle?
Well, I think there's two things. One is I've never, and I may have mentioned it on here before, I have never talked to a drug user that's addicted to drugs that said, when I was a kid, I grew up dreaming to be addicted. I grew up, that was my goal in life, is to be addicted to drugs and lose everything I have. People don't think like that. That's not what you set out to do. But I think for some of these people that started later in life, it may start with the fact of that they may have had an injury, for example, may have been in a car wreck, or may have fell and hurt themselves in some sort, or may have had an injury because of a lot of different reasons, but maybe getting started on pain medication.
Right.
And before they knew it, they were addicted to that pain medication and couldn't get off of that, and didn't know how to deal with the ramifications of trying to get off of that. And like I say, a lot of people with their mindset is if a doctor prescribes it, it's okay. And so I'm not a drug user, I'm not a drug addict because this is doctor prescribed it. I'm different than somebody on the street doing it.
Right.
And they get addicted to this, and the only thing they know is that when I have it, I feel good, and when I don't have it, I feel bad, and therefore I need it. But when it comes time to come off of that and go through the withdrawals and facing the same kind of withdrawals that a drug addict on the street would face, sometimes people can't handle that, and when the doctor don't prescribe their medication to them anymore, sometimes they may turn to some of these other things, heroin, methamphetamine, some of these marijuana sometimes, to these other things that are on the street to try to numb some of that withdrawal or some of that pain they're going through. And I think a lot of times it just spirals out of that. The other issue with that too is you have people who, a few years back, we had a great economic boom and people were making a lot of money and were building $500,000 houses and driving $100,000 cars. And then the economy took a turn and people were no longer buying those houses they were building, and people were stuck with a lot of debt. And so if you're not from the addictive phase on it, sometimes other people get involved in this just for the money value, just a way to make a quick buck, to try to make some money to pay some bills off. And before they know it, they fall into this lifestyle of, I'm making a lot of money and I can live the lifestyle I used to live. And so they fall back into that lifestyle of trying to make a lot of money and trying to turn money quickly. It could be a combination of
And for some people, see, in my case, I would hate to know that I'm always having to look around to make sure that nobody's watching.
I made that statement just yesterday.
Really?
We were talking at the office about some people that was wanted, and from time to time we have people just, we just encounter, say hello to or whatever, or maybe do a traffic stop, and they're constantly on nose. There warrants on me. Is there anything out there? And I made the comment yesterday. I can't imagine what it would be like to leave my house to go to Walmart to buy milk, and wondering whether I'm going to make it back home or not, wondering if I'm going to get picked up by the police before I get back.
To me, that seems like prison in itself.
Right. To me, I think it would be a type of prison, and trying to figure out, if having to watch over my shoulder everywhere I went, and or get nervous every time a patrol car come up behind me as I'm going down the road or anything like that. But I don't understand, for those that voluntarily get in that lifestyle, I don't understand what the attraction is or why they would want to get in that lifestyle, but a lot of people do.
I know some people just don't care. Right. They just go in their lives and
well, going back, and being realistic about things, if you're one of those people that had lost everything, and whether it's an economic crash or whether it's drug addiction or whatever it may be, and you've lost your home and you've lost your family and you've lost everybody, and we've got these 30-degree mornings coming up out here, may not be so bad to get arrested and go to jail. At least you've got a warm place to sleep, a blanket, and food, 3 meals a day, and all those kind of things. So
that's not an invitation, by the way.
That's not an invitation. We do have a room, though. But sometimes that happens, that I know when I worked in Atlanta, there was people I worked with down there back in early 90s, 92, 93, 94, along in there. There was people I worked with down there that would come out and work all summer long. I worked at a power plant, Georgia Power Company down there, and there would be people that would come out and work all spring, all summer, all fall. But when it got cold, they'd tell you, I want to go out and do something, get arrested, so they could spend the winter in jail. And that's what their goal was.
Wow.
Is to spend the winter in jail, because in the summertime they could sleep in their cars, or they could sleep on the street, or they could sleep under a bridge, or they could sleep anywhere, and it wasn't a big deal. But then when it turned cold in the winter, they didn't want to do that anymore, so they would intentionally get arrested for that to happen. And I'm sure the same thing happens there.
I know, speaking of the winter and the cold mornings, does the sheriff's office still offer the call-out service to check on the elderly and
We
the
do.
disabled? How can people get, is it a daily call?
It is.
Welfare check?
However people would like it set up. It could be a daily, it could be weekly. However they would like it set up. They can call the detention center. It's 837-2521. And call the detention center and request to be put on that list. And they'll make sure they get you on that list.
And that, I think that really means a lot to a lot of the elderly folks, and plus the kids of the elderly folks who may not be in town, who can check on their families every day. So I know that does mean a lot just to a lot of folks that, and some people are just, they don't have other people, no family to care about them.
Another thing to remind people too, it may not necessarily be a daily thing you need, but if you have people that you normally check on, but you're going to be gone for a few days or something like that, you can call up the sheriff's office and request a welfare check on someone, and we'll go out and check on them and make sure they're okay. A lot of people do that in the wintertime, like you say, especially when it starts getting colder. They may not necessarily need a daily check and want somebody to check on them every day, but it may be a cold snap and they're out of town and they can't physically go check on their loved one. So they'll call and say, can you go to such and such address and you check on them, make sure they're okay, and we do that. We do that service also.
All right. I know folks appreciate that. Yeah. Let's see. Today is the birthday of the Marine Corps. Tomorrow is Veterans Day observed.
Right.
And we want to remind people that there's going to be an event tomorrow in appreciation for the service of our veterans. Townsend Rose Funeral Home is inviting all Cherokee and Clay veterans and public servants and their spouses to attend the 20th annual barbecue dinner. There's going to be a special program to be held at the Peachtree Memorial Baptist Church on NC 141. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., we'll begin serving lunch in the Fellowship Hall following the program, and we'll continue serving until 2 p.m. All veterans, active duty personnel, and public servants are invited to attend, and just looking forward to honoring those who have honorably served. And there was an error in the newspaper that said it was going to begin at 10 o'clock, and they wanted to make sure that was corrected to say 11 o'clock is promptly at 11 o'clock.
At 11 o'clock.
So we want to make that correction.
You said that's Peachtree Memorial?
Peachtree Memorial Baptist Church. And I'm going to be on the air here tomorrow, and if I can find somebody to record this, and I'll put it on our Facebook page for those who can't make it.
Well, I was planning and may still go to that tomorrow, but yesterday was my wife's birthday.
Happy birthday, Cindy.
And I think she has actually gone shopping today. So that's why I came on in this morning. But I think after lunch we're going to maybe head out and spend some time together. So I don't know if I'm going to be back in time for that tomorrow or not. But if I'm not, I just want to say thank you to all the veterans that are out there, that we do appreciate your service, and we do appreciate the fact that you took time out of your life to serve our country.
It's hard to believe that Cindy turned 29. Again,
yeah. She asked her yesterday, I think it was, said, how old are you? And she said 29. And I said, 29, 15 years in a row.
That's funny. Yeah. I won a piece of pie yesterday, pumpkin pie yesterday from Red Brick Deli. Bram rang the bell, says, attention. Right. First person to guess how old Wendy is, his wife, will win a piece of pumpkin pie.
Yeah.
No one said a word. I think they were afraid. I said 24. He said, you won.
There you go. Yeah, that was a smart move on your part.
That was a smart move. I made a friend.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. It's 11:23 right now. What else is going on that we need to talk about? Let's see. The winter is ahead. Cold weather is
Well, I guess
here.
one thing we do need to mention, I believe we did mention it last week, but want to mention it. No, I don't think we did, because I think this is our first Friday. Congratulations to the new administrations in Murphy and Andrews.
Yes.
That have been elected this past week. So we've not been able to address that yet. But I want to say congratulations to everyone. I have talked both with Mayor Ramsey or Mayor-elect Ramsey, I should say, and Mayor-elect Reed and Andrews. And so both of them are real excited. They're real anxious to get on board and try to make some changes and do some things, that they feel would better our communities. And I'm real anxious to work with them. I'm very optimistic about our future in Cherokee County.
What kind of things does the sheriff's office and those town boards, what kind of things, how do they work together?
Well, one thing is, as far as the law enforcement issues are concerned, people tend to forget this, but even though the towns have their own police department, the sheriff's office has countywide jurisdiction. So we still are able to respond inside city limits and do things inside the city limits. And even though it may not be our primary jurisdiction is what we patrol every day, it's still part of Cherokee County, and that we still work within those city limits. And so it's important to keep that relationship open with the boards and with the mayors and the police chiefs of those towns, so that we understand that we're not working against each other, but we are working on the same side and that we are trying to accomplish the same things. And so that's important for us to do, and that's important for us to be sure we do that. Along with that, and sometimes, like for example, if you have a high turnover rate in the town, or you have people who may apply for other jobs and leave. Sometimes those police departments can get low on manpower. So sometimes we have to step in and help the towns and help answer calls and things of that nature inside. So it's important to keep that relationship open with the mayors and with the boards in the event that it becomes a monetary issue or things of that nature, that the boards can step in, and if they need to contribute a little bit to the fund, they can do that. One of the things we have talked about, I've talked about with both mayors, I keep saying that mayor-elect, both mayor-elects, is the fact of that, one step in our future that we can do as a sheriff's office of working with these towns is if we can get the towns to help with some funding to go in, we might work with these different towns as far as having officers assigned for their towns to work with our narcotics unit, so that we can have a county-wide task force. I guess is a better way of putting it. Then they would have people in their towns that was dedicated to the drug situation within their towns, but yet we'd have resources of the sheriff's office and other employees to help them with those things. And it would help us better schedule things, coordinate things, investigate things. Then those officers all those officers would become available for investigations and different things that happens within those towns that they need the help with. And we do that now, but I think it would just rub off some of the rough edges and smooth them out, and that we could get in the process of having teamwork with this and making some differences in these towns.
It's nice having everybody on the same page.
It is.
And you can get so much more done when, instead of competing with each other, you can work together and fix problems. Right.
And I will tell you, with the mayor-elect in Andrews and with the new board that was elected up there especially, I'm very optimistic about the future. I think we can make a lot of differences, a lot of changes up there. But Murphy's always been good to work with. As we was talking earlier, Bill Hughes has been a great mayor over the years. Justin Jacobs is a great police chief there. They've got a great board in Murphy. And so we've been working well with Murphy. We'll continue to work well with Murphy. But I just look forward to what the future of the county is. I think we can make huge differences.
I know things are going to change, especially in Andrews, because there's been controversy there for a while. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in moving forward there. That's one of the things that we're constantly out and about talking with people and moving around and getting people's perspectives on things and what they feel about things. And I think the people of Andrews is optimistic about the future too. So we're just anxious to work with them and to get up there and see what we can do to make some differences. All right. I can see our time is slipping away quickly. What else did you want to cover in this show? And
I think that's about it. It's Veterans Day.
This is one of our shorter shows.
It is one of our shorter shows. And we just want to, once again, give a big thank you to all of our veterans that are out there. And, we've got many veterans that serving overseas that are not even home, that's going to be home for Thanksgiving or Christmas. Remember them. If you can be a part of a team that's doing care packages or sending things out to our veterans that's overseas, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate that. Or just a little encouragement note, I'm sure they'd appreciate.
I was mentioning on Party Line this morning that normally on Fridays I start running behind schedule because Derek and I start talking and we forget what time it is.
Right.
But this morning I got about 15 minutes behind. You weren't even here yet.
Yeah.
So I said I can't really blame Derek this time.
That's it. And I actually came early today.
He did come
so we
early
could get
today.
some of our chatter out of the way before our show.
That's right. We did quite a bit of chatter before the show, and we appreciate you for taking time out of your schedule. And I know I do get so much feedback from this program and folks that say they tune in every Friday just to make sure to hear what's going on in this, and they really appreciate just the open communication that you offer.
And I was telling some people at church that had mentioned that to me the other day too, and I said, people think we're lying when we say this, but it's really true. right before Tim mashes the button to go on the air, he'll say, "What are we talking about today?" And I'll say, "I don't know. We'll talk about this, and then we'll go from there."
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And I kind of like that too, because it has that conversational feel more so than me just asking a bunch of interview questions.
Yeah,
and hopefully it has a good flow to it, and people stay tuned.
Right.
I try not to bore people too badly, but sometimes that still happens.
Well, I think we all do from time to time. Yes. We always have good days and bad days, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yeah. All right. Sheriff, thank you so much. We'll do this again, same time, same place, right here on WKRK next Friday at 11:05 on 105.5 FM, 1320 AM, cable TV channel 25, and worldwide we're at country.am. Have yourself a great day. Stay tuned. We'll have Pastor Odd Brown coming up shortly. I see him walking in the door right now, so we'll have his program next right here on WKRK in Murphy.